Good morning, friends. Today is the lecture on pneumonia, that is part 2, and that is the continuation of previous lecture. In previous lecture, we have discussed common two categories of pneumonia, that is community acquired bacterial pneumonia and community acquired viral pneumonia. And today's lecture will discuss remaining categories, remaining 5 categories of the pneumonia. So, we'll healthcare associated pneumonia, that is the third category. It is a distinct clinical entity that is associated with several risk factors, if hospitalization of at least 2 days within the recent past, then presentation from a nursing home or long-term care facility, or person attending a hospital or hemodialysis clinic, or have recent intravenous antibiotic therapy, chemotherapy, or wound care. So all these persons have chances of development of this healthcare associated pneumonia. The most common organisms associated with this are methicillin resistant Staph aureus. So methicillin is the antibiotic that is used in treatment with Staph aureus, but here this organism is resistant to methicillin, and second is Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So, and these patients have higher mortality than those with community acquired pneumonia. Then other category is hospital acquired pneumonia. In this, the pulmonary infections are acquired in the course of hospital stay. So the person who is hospitalized, and during that time if he acquired pulmonary infections, it is called the hospital acquired pneumonia. And they are common in patients who have severe underlying disease or have immunosuppression, taking prolonged antibiotic therapy, or have invasive access devices such as intravascular catheters, or patients on mechanical ventilator are at particularly high risk of developing this hospital acquired pneumonia. So superimposed on an underlying disease that caused a hospitalization, these hospital acquired infections are more serious and often life threatening. And the common organisms associated are gram-positive cocci, mainly Staph aureus, and gram-negative rots, that are Enterobacteria and Pseudomonas species. These are the most common isolate in settings of the healthcare associated pneumonia. And these same organisms also predominate in the ventilator associated pneumonia. So those patients who are on mechanical ventilator, but with gram negative bacilli being somewhat more common. So gram negative bacilli are more commonly seen in these patients. Then other category is the aspiration pneumonia, and this pneumonia occurs in markedly debilitated patients, or who has aspiration of gastric contents while he is or she is unconscious because of any disease or conditions, or during repeated vomiting. And these patients have abnormal gag and swallowing reflexes, so they predispose to the aspiration and lead to the aspiration pneumonia. And this resultant pneumonia is partly chemical because of the irritating effects of the gastric acid, and partly bacterial that comes from the oral flora. And in these patients who have aspiration pneumonia, more than one organism is recovered on the culture, and aerobes being more often than anaerobes. So aerobic organisms that grow in the oxygenated environment, and anaerobics are those that does not require the oxygen for growth. So aerobes are common than the anaerobes, and this type of pneumonia is often necrotizing, so they pursue a fulminant clinical course and also lead to the death. And those patients who survive, they have a complication, that is lung abscess. Then microaspiration, that also occurs frequently in almost all people, especially those who have the gastroesophageal reflux disease. So GERD patients have frequently the microaspiration, and it usually results in small poorly formed non-necrotizing granuloma, that is a reactions to this aspirated content with multinucleated foreign body giant cell, but it is usually unconsequential. So there is no major effect, but it may exacerbate the other pre-existing lung diseases such as asthma, interstitial fibrosis and lung rejection. So those patients who have already this pre-existing lung diseases and who also have GERD, they have higher chances of this microaspiration. So in that condition, this microaspiration will exacerbate the already underlying diseases. Then lung abscess. So lung abscess is the local suppurative process. So that is the formation of pus, and that produced by the necrosis of the lung tissue. So it's the local suppurative process that leads to the necrosis of lung tissue and pus formation, and that occurs in patients who have oropharyngeal surgical or dental procedures or have sinobronchial infections and bronchiectasis. Bronchiectasis also plays an important role in the development of the lung abscess. So what is bronchiectasis? It's a chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and it is a disorder in which there is a destruction of the smooth muscle and elastic tissue by the chronic necrotizing infections, and that lead to the permanent dilatation of bronchi and bronchioles. So that also lead to the lung abscess. Uh, Then etiopathogenesis of lung abscess. So under appropriate circumstances, any bacterial pathogen can produce the abscess, but most commonly included are aerobic and anaerobic streptococci, Staph aureus, and a host of gram-negative organisms. And mixed infections also commonly occur because of the inhalation of the foreign material. And anaerobic organisms that are normally found in the oral cavity are bacteroids, Fusobacterium and Peptococcus genera are also exclusively isolated in about the 60% cases of this lung abscess. Then why these causative organisms enter in the lung? It is introduced by the following mechanism, like aspiration of the infective material, then antecedent primary lung infection, septic embolism, neoplasia and miscellaneous. And we'll see all of these conditions one by one. So that is introduced by the most frequent cause is the aspiration of the infective material, and the risk factors for aspiration include suppressed cough reflexes that occurs in all these conditions because of the alcohol intoxication or opioid abuse or comatized patients or seizure disorders. So they have suppressed cough reflexes and that lead to the aspiration of the infective material commonly. Second is severe dysphagia because of the neurological deficits or esophageal diseases, protracted vomiting and poor dental hygiene. Because of this disease, there is an aspiration of the infective material, and that first causes the pneumonia, and that it progresses to tissue necrosis and the formation of the lung abscess. Second cause is the antecedent primary lung infection. If there is a pneumonia, then there may be post-pneumonic abscess formation, and that are usually associated with these organisms like Staph aureus, Klebsiella pneumoniae and pneumococcus. And post-transplant or otherwise immunosuppressed individuals are at special risk by this infection that lead to the lung abscess commonly. Then third thing is the septic embolism. So infected emboli may arise from the thrombophlebitis, that is the inflammation of the blood vessel that occur in any portion of the systemic venous circulation, or vegetations, that is the growth of the bacteria. So collection of the bacteria that are present in the cardiac valves as seen in infective bacterial endocarditis on the right side of the heart, and that can lodge in the lung, and that will lead to the septic embolism, and that ultimately lead to the lung abscess formation as a complication. Then neoplasia. So those who have primary or secondary malignancy, and because of this malignancy there is a obstruction in the bronchopulmonary segments, and that lead to the secondary infection. So that is called the post-obstructive pneumonia, and that lead to the lung abscess. And there are some miscellaneous conditions also that lead to the lung abscess are traumatic penetration of the lungs, then direct extension of the suppurative infections from the other nearby organs like the esophagus, spine, subphrenic abscess, or from the pleural cavity, or because of hematogenous seeding of the lung by pyogenic organisms may lead to the lung abscess formation. So that can transfer by the blood vessels. So hematogenous seeding of the lung also lead to the lung abscess. When all these causes are excluded, there are still cases in which no discernible basis for the abscess formation can be identified. So in that case we don't know about the etiology, and that is known as the primary cryptogenic lung abscess. Morphologically, this abscess, this is the abscess that is present in lung, vary in diameter from a few millimeter to large cavities of 5 to 6 centimeter, and they may affect any part of the lung and may be single or multiple. Then pulmonary abscesses that occur because of the aspiration are more common on the right side because of the more vertical right main bronchus, and they are most often single. But abscesses that develop in the setting of pneumonia or bronchiectasis, septic emboli, and pyemic abscesses are usually multiple. Then histological features that shows suppurative destruction of the lung parenchyma within the central area of the cavitation. So within the cavity there is a destruction of the parenchyma, and that lead to the pus formation. This abscess cavity is filled with the suppurative debris, and if there is a communication with an air passage because of this cavity formation, that create an air containing cavity. Then superimposed saprophytic infections are prone to develop within this necrotic debris. So these saprophytic infections mean those infections that live in dead and decaying organic matter. So superimposed saprophytic infections will develop in this necrotic debris. And if this infection will continue, then it leads to the large, poorly demarcated, fatigued, green-black multilocular cavities, and that is designated as the gangrene of the lung. And in chronic cases, there is a considerable fibroblastic proliferation, and that will lead to the fibrous wall. Then clinical features, how these patients present. They have symptoms of cough, fever, and copious amounts of foul spelling, purulent or sanguinous sputum. Sanguinous means that contain the blood. But fever, chest pain with weight loss are common presentations, and clubbing of the fingers and toes may appear because of the decreased oxygenation. The diagnosis can only suspected from the clinical findings, and that may be confirmed by the radiologically. So from X-ray also we can know. And whenever an abscess is discovered in older individual, there may be the possibility of underlying carcinoma that is present in 10 to 15% of the cases. So we also have to rule out the underlying carcinoma in patients. The course of the abscess is variable, and with antimicrobial therapy, most of the lung abscess will resolve and leave behind only a scar. And these are the complications of lung abscess. So this abscess can extend into the pleural cavity, and that will lead to the empyema, or there is a bleeding, so there is a hemorrhage, or if there is a septic emboli, that can lead to the brain abscess or meningitis, or because of infection there may be development of the secondary amyloidosis, that is type AA, but it's a rare complication. Then chronic pneumonia. So chronic pneumonia is most often a localized lesion that occurs in the immunocompetent patients with or without regional lymph node involvement. And typically this inflammatory reaction that occur in chronic pneumonia is granulomatous, and most commonly it is occurred by the bacteria, that is Mycobacterium tuberculosis, or fungi, that is Histoplasma capsulatum. So Mycobacteria tuberculosis, there is a separate lecture. So we'll discuss only the chronic pneumonia that are caused by the fungi. First is the Histoplasmosis capsulatum. So it occurs because of the inhalation of the dust particles from the soil that are contaminated with the bird or bed droppings that contain small spores, that is known as the microconidia, that is the infectious form of this fungus. It is endemic along the Ohio and Mississippi rivers and in the Caribbean, and it is also found in Mexico, Central and South America, then parts of Eastern and Southern Europe, Africa, Eastern Asia, and also in the Australia. And this Mycobacterium tuberculosis, this Histoplasma capsulatum is also an intracellular pathogen, and that is found mainly in the phagocytes. The clinical presentations and morphologic lesions of this histoplasmosis that bear a striking resemblance to those of the tuberculosis. So that can lead to the self-limited and often latent primary pulmonary involvement that result in the coin lesions on the chest radiography. I will show you the picture of these coin lesions on chest radiography in next slide. Or there may be chronic progressive secondary lung disease which is localized to the lung apices, or it can spread to the extrapulmonary sites including the mediastinum, adrenal glands, liver or meninges, or there may be widely disseminated disease in the immunocompromised patients. And histoplasmosis can occur in immunocompetent individuals, but it is more severe if it occurs in those patients who have depressed cell-mediated immunity. As we know that cell-mediated immunity is required for the defense against the intracellular microbes. So those who have depressed cell-mediated immunity, there is a more severe form of this infection. And this is the chest radiograph that shows the coin lesions that is characteristic of this Histoplasma capsulatum. So this is the coin-like lesion. Then pathogenesis, it is incompletely understood, but the main portal of entry is virtually always the lung. So it enters by the lung. Then macrophages ingest this organism but cannot kill the organism without the T cell help. So and this allows the organism to multiply within the phagolysosomes, and that disseminate prior to the development of T cell immunity to other organs. So T cell immunity required at least 1 to 2 weeks. So before this immunity develop, it already spread to the other organs. But those individuals who have the adequate cell-mediated immunity, the infection is controlled by the help of this Th1 helper T cells that recognize these fungal antigens and subsequently secrete the interferon gamma that activates the macrophages and enables them to kill this intracellular yeast. In addition, this histoplasma also induces the macrophages to secrete the tumor necrosis factor, and that recruits and stimulates more and more macrophages to kill this histoplasma. So morphologically, in the lungs of healthy adults, this infection produce granuloma, and which usually become necrotic. So this is a necrotizing granuloma, and that causes to produce areas of consolidation. And with spontaneous resolution or effective treatment, these lesions undergo fibrosis and concentric calcification. So here you can see this concentric calcification. And this appearance is like the roots of this tree when it is cut like this in transverse section, and this appearance is known as the tree back appearance because it resembles like this outer root of the tree. So this is the tree back appearance. And if this fulminant disseminated histoplasmosis that occur in patients who have the immunosuppressed. In this, the granulomas do not form, but there are focal accumulations of these mononuclear phagocytes that are filled with fungal yeast throughout the body. And histologically, this is the H&E section of the tissue that shows that these are the macrophages, and that are filled with these numerous small organisms that have a clear zone around the central blue nucleus, which gives the cell membrane the appearance of the capsule. So the name of the histoplasma capsulatum. And here this histoplasma capsulatum yeast forms that fill the phagocytes, and in the lung of a patient, those who have the disseminated histoplasma, and this shows the high power of this, that shows that this pear shaped thin based budding yeast, and this is the silver stain. So diagnosis of this histoplasma capsulatum is done by the serological test. So there are serological tests available that detect the antibodies and fungal antigens. Then culture, from culture we also can diagnose. Identification of the fungus in the tissue biopsy is also available. This majority of the cases will resolve spontaneously, but progressive disease or disease in immunocompromised patients, we have to treat with the antifungal agents. Second is blastomycosis. So blastomyces dermatitis is a soil inhabiting dimorphic fungus, and it causes disease in the central and southeastern United States, Canada, Mexico, the Middle East, Africa, and also in India. Three clinical forms occur, that is the involvement of the lungs, so pulmonary blastomycosis, then disseminated blastomycosis, and primary cutaneous form. So that results from the direct inoculation of the organism into the skin. And this pneumonia most often resolves spontaneously, but it may persist or can progress to the chronic lesion, because macrophages have a limited ability to ingest and kill this blastomycosis dermatitis, and the persistence of the yeast cell lead to the recruitment of the neutrophils. So in normal host, the lung lesions show the suppurative granulomas because of the presence of neutrophils, and in tissue this dermatitis is a round 5 to 15 micrometer size yeast. It has a thick double contour cell wall and a visible nuclei. And involvement of the skin and larynx is associated with marked epithelial hyperplasia, and that can be mistaken for the squamous cell carcinoma. So this is the tissue section, and that shows this rounded budding yeast here also, that is larger than this neutrophils, and not the characteristic this thick wall and nuclei that is not seen in other fungi. Here also there is a nuclei and this thick wall. This is the silver stain. Then third fungus is the coccidioidomycosis, and almost everyone who inhales the spores of this Coccidioides immitis that becomes infected and that develop a delayed type hypersensitivity reaction to the fungus. Most remain asymptomatic, but more than 80% of the people in endemic areas of the southwestern and western United States and in Mexico have a positive skin test reaction. Skin test reaction means that when there is a inoculation of the antigen in the skin, there is a response is produced to this antigen, and that will lead to the reaction, and that is seen in more than 80% of the people who stay in these endemic areas. So they have antibodies. Certain ethnic groups like Filipinos and African Americans and the immunosuppressed, they are high risk for the disseminated diseases. The one reason for the infectivity is because this infective form, that is arthrochonidia, when ingested by the alveolar macrophages, they block the fusion of the phagosome and lysosome, so they resist intracellular killing. And they occur in two forms. One is pulmonary lesions and second is disseminated forms, so that spread to other organs. Morphologically, it present as a thick wall, this non-budding, this spherules, 20 to 60 micrometer in diameter, and that is often filled with these small endospores. So these are the endospores, and when this endospore or when this spherules rupture and there is release of this endospore, that will lead to the pyogenic reaction. So there is a presence of these neutrophils. Progressive coccidioidomycosis disease that lead to the involvement of the meninges, skin, bones, adrenals, lymph nodes, spleen or liver, and at all these sites the inflammatory response may be purely granulomatous or pyogenic or may be mixed granulomatous and pyogenic responses. And last category is the pneumonia in the immunocompromised host. So those persons who have immunocompromised state because of the immunosuppressive therapy for organ or hematopoietic stem cell transplant, or they are taking chemotherapy for the tumors or irradiation, this pneumonia occurs in this immunocompromised host, and in this there is only the appearance of this pulmonary infiltrate with or without signs of the infection, that is fever, because of this immunocompromised state. And opportunistic infections, infectious agents are common in this immunocompromised host that normally not occur in the normal host. And these opportunistic infectious agents can cause pneumonia. Often more than one agent is also involved, and mortality from these opportunistic infections is high. And this is the table that shows some of the opportunistic infections according to their prevalence, so whether they are common or uncommon, and whether they cause local or diffuse infiltrates. So common organisms and that lead to the diffuse infiltrates are cytomegalovirus and pneumocystis jirovecii, and common but focal infiltrates because of these gram-negative bacterial infections, Staph aureus, Aspergillus, Candida, and malignancy. Uncommon are bacterial pneumonia, Aspergillus, Cryptococcus, and malignancy. And focal infiltrate but uncommon are caused by the organisms like Cryptococcus, Mucor, Pneumocystis jirovecii, and Legionella pneumophila. So in this there is a differential diagnosis also come with these drug reactions and malignancy. So in summary, we have discussed pneumonia, that is broadly defined as the infection of the lung parenchyma, and that occur in 7 different categories. Community acquired bacterial pneumonia and viral pneumonia we have discussed in first lecture, and Some key concept are that is Streptococcus pneumoniae, also known as the pneumococcus, that is the most common cause of the community acquired acute pneumonia, and distribution is mainly lobar. And this lobar pneumonia evolved through the 4 stages, that is congestion, red hepatization, gray hepatization, and resolution. Other common causes of this acute pneumonias in the community include the Haemophilus influenza and Moraxella catarrhalis, and that both are associated with the acute exacerbation of the COPD, that is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And Staph aureus usually occurs secondary to the viral respiratory infections. Then Klebsiella pneumoniae, that is observed in patients who are chronic alcoholics. Pseudomonas aeruginosa, that is seen in persons with cystic fibrosis and in patients with neutropenia, and Legionella pneumophila, that occurs particularly in organ transplant recipients. And the term atypical organism is used for Mycoplasma pneumonia, Chlamydophila pneumoniae, Coxiella burnetii, and the pneumonia that is caused by the viruses. Like influenza viruses type A and B, human metapneumovirus, since they are not detectable on gram stain, nor do they grow on the standard bacteriologic culture media, so they are known as the atypical organisms. Bacterial pneumonias are characterized predominantly the presence of intra-alveolar neutrophilic inflammation, while viral pneumonias that shows the interstitial lymphocytic inflammation, and a characteristic viral inclusions may be seen. So all these things we have discussed in the first lecture, and today we have discussed healthcare associated pneumonia, then hospital acquired pneumonia, aspiration pneumonia, then lung abscess that is caused by the anaerobic organisms or by mixed infections, and frequently occur in the debilitated individuals following aspiration of the oral flora. Chronic pneumonia that occurs because of the Mycobacterium tuberculosis or fungi like Histoplasmosis capsulatum, blastomycosis, or coccidioidomycosis, and pneumonia in the immunocompromised host, and opportunistic infections are also common in this immunocompromised state. Thank you.